field working with older adults, and then now having this ability to work with them in a more hands-on situation, and it's really fulfilling for me. So I want to share with you today what I have learned, and hopefully have you leave with some tools in your pocket, maybe some strategies, things that you can use to assist when you're working with older sellers. So one thing I do want to start with is I want to touch base on some of the different generations that we're talking about when we talk about older sellers, because older sellers could be 55 plus, 65 plus. There's a wide range of older sellers over 65, and they're all going to have different needs. And so I feel like a little bit, this was really interesting to me. I sort of nerd out about this stuff because I love learning about how to serve these other generations. So what I want to touch on is there's three generations that we're sort of focusing on when we talk about 65 and over. The first one is the greatest generation. The greatest generation is in their late 90s, centurions by now, and they grew up in World War I, they lived the Great Depression, and they fought in World War II. And they're parents of the boomers. And they had the mentality of use it, wear it out, make do or do without. That was their generation. And so then the silent generation comes behind them, and they experienced World War II and the Great Depression. And these are the 79 to 97-year-olds, which is the category that I'm really focusing on when I talk about challenges and the hardships that these sellers have, getting rid of stuff, what that stuff means to them. And so the silent generation is thrifty, respectful, and loyal. And I think many of you will agree, working with that age group, they are very loyal. So if you serve them well, they will refer you, they will come back to you, and they will speak very highly of you to all their friends. And so that generation is smaller than actually the greatest or the baby boomer generation. But both of those two generations have a mindset of scarcity and rationing. So they save everything. So guess who got it? The baby boomers. So the baby boomers are 61 to 79. That's as of 2025. This is data from 2025. And I'm sorry, one more thing about the silent generation. They absorb the habits and fears, this generational thing. Possessions represented security. Items were symbols of perseverance, sacrifice, and even love. Think about grandma's quilt, old furniture. And honestly, the greatest generation's parents and grandparents came over on the wagons in the 1800s, and so they got all that furniture, which still the baby boomers have now, which of course their kids don't want, so what are they going to do with it all? And so there's also that challenge of this stuff really means a lot to these people. It's a very special piece. It's a story. It's their life. It's their family's history, and they're being asked to let it go because now they have to downsize. Sometimes they have to and they don't really want to, and I'm sure you all find that one's ready and one's not. And so there's always these interesting dynamics, and I'm going to touch on as much of that as I can briefly. But, so now we go into the baby boomer generation, 61 to 79. They're the child of the silent and the greatest generations. They have a significant impact on our economy. They have the highest, they hold the highest economic security in our country right now. The baby boomers do. They were around for Vietnam, the Watergate, Cold War, and even though they have even though they grew up in economic prosperity, they still inherited that holding on to and not letting go. Letting go to them and the other generations is a sign of loss. It's a sign of moral, it's a moral, let's see, I lost my word there. Anyway, it's a moral failure that they're giving these things away. They're useful. Why would they give it away? It's completely useful. And they can hear their parents in their heads going, you're going to keep this and you're going to hand it down because this is in our family and this is special. And now they're stuck with, what do we do with all this stuff? So this is kind of, this little bit, I think, gives us an insight into, they're just not older sellers. They have stories and they have a history and they have a long history. And a lot of families here that have been in their homes for 40 years are usually here from various earlier generations. And so it's a very interesting group of people that you hear amazing stories from. You see the And so one other thing I want to talk about is the reason that a lot of these people need to downsize and let go is because 1 of 4 people over 65 will fall, and they will have an accident, and it's the leading cause of death a death-related injury over 65 is falling. And so we really want to help these people find a way to let this stuff go, get them out of those homes that they feel stuck in, that they can't get out of. They wanted to get out for 5 years but didn't know how because they didn't know how to get rid of the stuff. And so that's a little bit about the people that we're going to be working with and talking about today. So when I'm talking about these challenges, I'm really thinking my category that I find that I mostly need to help with is 70 and over. 65 plus, even 70s, they can make their own decisions. They can handle the logistics of it. But then there's that time where there's a health issue, a loss of a spouse, mobility issues. Something happens and they can no longer handle this on their own. So let's go ahead and we'll get started on this. So I just want to share a little bit about me. I'm a certified home stager. I'm a residential transaction specialist. I specialize in downsizing and staging services. I'm a member of the Real Estate Staging Association and also the National Association of Senior Move Managers. I stay involved in these organizations because I want to learn best practices. I want to stay up on current trends. I want to stay up on how can I best serve these people, and I want to try to be the best at what I do, and also always have a solution for my clients. And so I'm also preferred staging partner with Hayden Home Model Homes. We do their vacant staging and their holiday staging. And then I've been featured on the legacy list with Matt Paxton as a professional organizer. If any of you know who Matt Paxton is, he's a professional organizer on television, really nice guy. And then I've done some episodes of Hoarders. And what I can say about Hoarders is it's all true. It really happens. There are no dead bodies. No, there are no dead bodies, but lots of dead animals. And so having the experience of these 2 events and working with these 2 people really gave me that passion for downsizing and really wanting to understand how to help people let things go. And so with that, today, I want to talk about supporting the 65 and over seller with confidence. We're going to talk about the insight into the 65 plus market with the physical limitations, health issues, and those challenges and what they bring. Understanding the emotional and logistical challenges of downsizing sellers. We're going to recognize when a seller needs support and how to guide them. Learn how to introduce downsizing as a positive step, reframing that mindset to help them feel like, okay, and we'll talk about that, just really listening to why they need to downsize and helping them reframe their mindset, that it's not always about the loss, but it's always also what can you gain from this. And gain tools to overcome seller objections. When you meet the seller with his arms folded and doesn't understand why you tell him he needs to paint that wall or cut those bushes or clean out this house, we're going to talk about that. And discover that you can support these sellers without doing it all yourself. Okay, so I have a table here that basically the far left side is 65 plus in millions. And so right now in 2025, we're sitting at about 55 million over 65. And just by 2030, we're going to have about 60 million. They estimate that, well, in 2024, 11,000 people turn 65 every day. So lots of people aging up over 65. And so that number by 2050 is going to be 80 million. So they're pretty big numbers. 10 million each decade is what they're expecting. And I have a couple other stats here. According to Fannie Mae, the population age 65 and over grew by 34% from 2012 to 2022, reaching 58 million. The fastest growth is expected among those over 80. These are the people that we need to serve in this downsizing, these downsizing challenges. They're more likely to need accessible housing and support services moving forward. Census.gov reports that by 2030, all baby boomers will be at least 65. So by 2030, they're all going to be in that age category, which is only 5 years from now, which 2030, it sounds like a long ways away, but I just realized it's like 5 years away. It's crazy. And then finally, a report by Harvard Joint Center for Housing Studies shows that fewer than 4% of U.S. homes offer those aging in place things like one-level house, no stair entry, and the wider hallways. So unless they're going to do a complete remodification or doing on the house, they're gonna have to move. And so, but a lot of people do the aging in place. So, but we're talking about the people that need to move today. So here's the thing, with all those people, 40% of them are gonna have physical limitations, 30% of them are gonna have emotional attachment, and 25% of them are gonna have health issues. That's a lot of percentage. That's almost half these people have physical limitations. And those physical limitations are very frustrating for these people that have been very independent, very much in control of what's been going on in their lives. And all of a sudden, they have this huge thing. Think of how every time we move, how exhausting it is. There's so many parts to it, and yet we're very capable of doing it. But when you're not capable of doing something, and you have to watch somebody else do it for you, it's very difficult for them. So here is Lane County, age 65 and over. So this was, I just updated this from the last time I did this. It's 40.7 years old is the medium range. 21% of those are 65 and over. So we have about 82,000 in our 65 plus community right now. And then 65 plus will reach approximately 34,000 in the next 10 years. It'll increase another 34,000 in the next 10 years. And then by 2030, 1 in 5 of us will be 65 or over. That's about 20%. So that's a pretty significant amount. And another side note to this, well, and then 55 plus has the highest ownership and makes up the greatest number of sellers, 55 and over. So, but of this, and we're going to touch on this staging in a little bit, but 86% of sellers are going to remain in their home when it's on the market. So that's when the staging becomes more of an occupied staging. We're not talking vacant, because they're going to be living in their home. We have to talk about how do we get that home ready for marketing photos. My whole objective and everything that we're talking about right now is how do we get that home ready for those marketing photos, because we know that's where sales generally happen. That's when people get excited. That's when they want to see more. So that's what we're focusing on. This whole thing is about how do we get this house ready, and also how do we nurture that client and get them to the other side and have a happier, healthier, better life and not feel like they've just totally given up everything. I've had people tell me so many different things. I feel like my world is blowing up. I feel like life is going to end. And then when they get to the other side, we get there gracefully, finally, and they're so much better. They're so much happier. And so that's a happy end result that we want to have for everybody. So what's the problem? Well, this is a problem. This is a gentleman who is now confined to one floor in a tri-level house, who has this amazing workshop, who can't get out there and do anything with it. Stuff just sort of piles up from family and other people coming in. So the problem is that we have a fast-growing aging population, mobility and health issues, too much stuff. We have an emotional attachment to our stuff, and we don't have enough support. So that's the problem. So let's talk about the logistical and emotional challenges of these. They've accumulated possessions over the years. The possessions are a heavy burden. They're feeling stuck. They're struggling to let go. They've got decades of belongings and can feel overwhelming, and they don't know where to start. And all of these things have emotional attachment. So we're talking boxes and boxes, letters from the past, furniture, keepsakes, and also paper, and more paper. So we need to do some education on what do we really need to keep. And of course, collections. We've got our Hummels, we've got our china, we've got the beautiful artwork that nobody else appreciates, and all of our treasured curio cabinets. And these are our family's heirlooms that have been passed down, or they're our own treasures. And so they need to know how to let those go. Then we have emotional attachment to the possessions. These are memories, milestones of loved ones. Every item tells a story. And so letting go feels like losing a part of their past. It's more like saying goodbye and not about downsizing. So it's a little bit of therapy that we're doing with the clients too. You're going to have to, a lot more hand holding than you would with your younger sellers. And the younger sellers want to move. Sometimes these people don't want to move. They really don't want to. So many of you know the story. Stories allow people to let things go. Listen to the stories. Listen to what their needs are. Listen to why they need to move. Listening is gonna make this process so much better for you and the sellers. And we've talked about the fear of letting go and regret. Whoops, I just skipped ahead by accident, but I'm gonna leave it there. So kids don't want their stuff. We all know that. The millennials, they definitely don't want the stuff. They want a smaller footprint. And we're all decluttering. It seems like since COVID, we're all sort of decluttering. I mean, the thrift stores don't even take the stuff they used to take anymore. We have a harder time, getting rid of stuff. Can't even hardly sell stuff on Facebook like we used to. Just people don't want the stuff anymore. And these people, our sellers, are feeling stuck and overwhelmed. They have a lot of fear and anxiety. They have mobility challenges. They have physical barriers. Maybe they have a tri-level house. They can only live on one floor. I actually had a client that I was working with who we had one session, came back for the second session. She was confined to the bottom floor. He was on the second. She was going up and down between the second and the basement, but she fell and missed the last step and broke her ankle. So they had stayed in that house for 5 years longer than they should have. That was a gentleman with the workshop, because they didn't know where to start. And their realtor called and said, we need somebody to help this person. And so that's how she got help, and that's how they got out. But it was, unfortunate that happened. So letting it go, again, isn't about the belongings, it's about losing a part of their identity. And saying goodbye to the home means saying goodbye to a chapter of their life. It's just not a home. It's not a piece of property. It's a home. It's full of stories. It's full of love. It's full of history. And finally here, emotional and physical, emotional and physical stress of the move. Again, they're having to watch someone else do this. They've always been independent. It's very stressful. They don't understand sometimes the things that are being given to them, the offers, the why I have to do this, the conversations that are being had. They really don't understand all these logistics that are now happening in this world around them. And so grief and loss will make it difficult for them to move forward. And the end of an era will bring a sense of nostalgia and uncertainty about the future. And then finally, the health and mobility issues. We touched on this a little bit. If they can't breathe, they have COPD, they can't climb the stairs, they can't get out to the shop, they can't walk in the driveway anymore that they've always enjoyed with their dog. They've got to find something on flat ground. They need to declutter, they need to pre-pack, deferred maintenance, outdated features. There's a whole slew of things that need to be addressed with them. So the challenges can lead to a longer time on the market. It can lead to lower offers if things aren't done. And it can also generate a price reduction because of things, if they can't do it and we don't get someone in there to do it, updates, repairs, decluttering, pre-packing, it's not going to allow the buyers to have a sense of home in that home. And they deserve to have the best home they can possibly have. They deserve for their home to have that best face forward, just like everybody else needs that. They need that as well, because they're the ones that are going to need to live on that for the rest of their life generally. And they're paying for these high prices and these retirement communities. And but a lot of our, and I want to say that a lot of our baby boomers, they do still have the pensions and that sort of thing, but it's still very, very expensive. And so we want to help them out as much as we possibly can. And then lack of family support. We touched on this. It's not an intentional thing. We have a sandwich generation now, which just comes under baby boomers, and Gen X kind of falls into this sandwich generation. Kids are working. They have kids. They're raising their parents, and they're raising their children, and they're supporting their kids. And sometimes they aren't taking care of their parents also, it's a lot. Or they live out of state, or they don't have children. Sometimes they don't have kids, and some are at the end of the line. So they have nowhere, and their friends are in the same condition they are. So they can't even really rely on their friends. So it's a lack of support. Everybody has the best intentions. One other thing I'll say about family support is a lot of times we get called in because they can't work together. Mom, get rid of all your crap. We get it out of here. Why are you holding on to this? And Mom's like, I don't want to get rid of it. I don't, why are you telling me to get rid of it? And then there's conflict, and then somebody will call me, I can't work with my mom anymore. Just help my mom. And she's like, I can't work with my daughter anymore. And so, there's a need for a third party, whoever that is, there's a need for that third party if there's family conflict. These people deserve to be heard, they deserve to be honored, they deserve to have control, and it's us going in and figuring out what can we do to give them that control back. Because right now, if they don't want to move, they've lost control. It's a really unfortunate thing, and so we want to give them that control back. Okay, I'm going to share a couple of examples of a downsizing failure. These are people that I'm working with now. These are 3 clients' homes that did not downsize enough. One of the biggest things that you can do for your clients is know where they're going. And sometimes that's not always possible, but I always tell people if you know where you're going, it makes this process so much easier. Because you can pick, I always say, prioritize what you love, and then think about the rest of it. Absolutely, have the things that are non-negotiable, I cannot live without, and then we start working out from that. Because what happens is, if everything is special, nothing is special. And that's something I tell them all the time. You have to choose, and a lot of that is like a legacy list. What are the things that tell your story? What are the things you can't live without? Because this is what happens. We're digging out of boxes. These women, they're 3 women. They all feel trapped. They can't live their best life. Yeah, they're in a great home that they can now do everything they want to do in, but can they? They can't. They can't have their friends over. They're spending their weekends in boxes. And so these are 3 clients that we were called in. Well, actually 2 of them were called in after by a realtor to help them kind of dig out. And so then the flip side of this was a woman who did it. She had the support. She had the realtor that said, can you help my client? She did all the things, and this is what happened on her end. She has all of her favorite things. She loved her horses. She had her knitting chair. You know, we space planned. If you can space plan for your clients, that is ideal, because you can say, this item will go here, this desk will fit in here, oh no, it won't fit in there, let's get you a different desk, let's put a different table. And so space planning is huge when you know where they're going. So the real key is here is always, do you know where you're going? So, so I wanted to share with you what it can look like for someone, and what it looks like when it isn't done and they're just overwhelmed and they can't move forward. So first impressions matter. We all know this. We have a reduced property appeal if none of this is done, if they're not downsizing. Style and upkeep may not align with today's buyer's expectations. We have outdated decor, fixtures, excessive furniture, and years of accumulated belongings both inside and out. And I just want to pause here and say, does anybody have any questions or comments on anything we've touched on so far? I did want to ask one question too, is how many of you have seen an increase in older sellers and some of the challenges that we're talking about? Okay, good. Yeah, it's just gonna get more and more. Yeah.
The financial limitations for these people.
Absolutely.
Is significant.
It is.
They're on fixed incomes, they have a huge amount of equity, but nothing to work with.
Exactly. And I just worked with a lady that all her money was in the house. Her husband just passed away last year. She couldn't afford to live because she lost his income. All the money's in the house. She had to sell the house so that she could move forward, which is, was really devastating for her. But yeah, it is. And then the medical bills are taking a lot of the money that they do have, even if they do have money, it's the medical bills too. It is a real struggle. And then the other question was, have you experienced the delayed decision, the more time that it takes to help those sellers when you have those older sellers? Have you experienced any of that yet? Okay, yeah.
Especially women who are on their own.
Yes.
I feel like
yeah.
they do stuff.
They do, and they have a hard time asking for help. It's that generation of like, I should do this myself.
No matter how old you are.
Yes, it's very true, especially when you're very independent. It's like, I don't need anybody, but they really do. And I think that's gonna be we're gonna touch on that, and I put out some handouts, just different terminology that you use. We'll touch on this a little bit, is again, I can't stress it enough, listen, ask questions, just really listen. One of the things, and I'll get through this, and if I don't touch on it, I'll come back to it, is really just asking those questions about those things that maybe are unappealing in the house, asking them where they came from. Tell me the story about that. And if they can sense that you care and that you want to hear the stories, they're more apt to be open to you to say, well, what do you think about this organization? I bet this organization could use this. Or what I use with my clients that have a ton of books. And they're like, I don't know, books are meant to be read. Books are meant to be loved. If they're a real book lover, they're like, oh yeah, oh no, I want to pass these on. But it's just reframing their mindset of, you're not losing, you're blessing, you're blessing and releasing, you're letting someone else find the joy in this that you once had. And so for some people that really works. Most people don't want to throw it away, and they feel like donating is throwing away. So if you know what the donation center supports, which I put on that list, people love giving to sponsors. They love that they know it's going directly to a person that has just been recently released from prison, and they're rebuilding their lives, and they're so happy to donate their stuff, which they wanted to sell before, but then they're like, oh no, I will be more than happy to give it to them. So it's just reframing their mindset. I could talk all day about this, I'm gonna stay on the focus. All right, so next is, what I do here. I think I may have hit a wrong button, Amy.
Oh.
I'm not moving. I guess I can move here too.
Maybe better then.
Okay, it's actually moving my notes rather, oh, here we go, we're back, I'm good.
Okay.
Okay, extended market time. It's gonna be frustrating for both you and the seller if, there's an extended market time, but sometimes this happens because they can't make decisions. They get stuck. You leave them with a list and say, okay, if you can tackle this week, I'll come back next week and let's see how we're doing. Well, that didn't get done because they may have found a box from their husband that just passed away and it just shut them down, set them back. So, and sometimes like time is a factor. They've got a bridge loan, they've got a pending offer, you guys know all those things a lot better than I do, but there's pressing issues that these houses need to get sold. Sometimes what needs to happen is we need to give our clients timelines. We had a client that didn't physically feel like she could do it, but I knew she was at a point where we could get it done, so we had to start setting timelines of the flooring guys are coming in, the painters are gonna be here. She's like, oh, okay, and then she got moving. So sometimes we have to give them those timelines just to see if they can make those decisions. If once we get to know them, we kind of know their limits there. And then a lower selling price, again, we talked about if these things don't get done, the buyer's gonna see much more needed work in this house, and it may be more than they wanna take on, or they're gonna see less value in that property. And so perception of work needed can directly, let's see, what did I just do? Well, anyway. Okay, so increased effort and resources. We all know that you all have a big workload, whether it's arranging for decluttering, staging, minor repairs, inspections. You've got to manage emotional conversations, process demands. The process demands more hands-on support from you than you are typically going to need to give to others. And so it does require some extra work. It can be overwhelming for agents who may not have the time, tools, or resources, or feel like it's even something they feel comfortable managing. Higher stress levels. For older sellers, moving is not just logistical, it's emotional. We've touched on that. Managing these emotions while keeping track of the transaction can be very challenging. Sellers who feel stressed or overwhelmed will delay decisions and make the process even harder. Managing the sale and seller's emotions can be stressful and time consuming. And one thing I want to stress is it will require a lot of patience, empathy, and creativity. Being able to know, I'm sorry, I'm struggling with how to, okay, there we go. You're going to be arranging extra help services. You're going to be convincing them to make necessary changes, which increases your workload and your logistical responsibilities. So add to this all of your time to work with multiple clients, coordinating cleanup, trying to present the home in the best light, holding additional open houses, and everything else that you do. It's very demanding, and it can be very time consuming. Okay, so then I want to talk a little bit about understanding the seller's mindset. There are 3 stages of a seller's mindset: denial, resistance, and readiness. The denial is I'm not ready to move yet, and that could be a spouse, and one's raring to go, and one's like, I'm not moving. And then resistance is, I'll do it myself later. I'm good. I can take care of it. And the readiness is, I'm all in. I need help. I just don't know where to start. Tell me what to do. So those are going to be your 3. And then recognizing sellers who need help. You're going to know they're going to be hesitant. They're overwhelmed about the listing. You know they need to move because there's health issues, physical limitations. They can't get up and down the stairs. They're not living their best life. You know when you walk into a home, someone's not living their best life. There are signs everywhere. So you might have a home that requires significant decluttering. They need support. Emotional distress when discussing the move. They start to shut down. And one other thing is they can be all raring to go, and you give them this list, and they're like, I'm on it. And then you come back, and like I said, they go through a box, they open a closet, and they're just like, it all comes flooding in, what's really happening today, what we're having to do today.
and what they're losing, what they feel like they're losing. Again, listening, asking questions, keep reminding them of that end goal. When you've had that initial conversation with your seller, you're asking all the questions about where do you want to go, why do you want to go, tell me your story. When you understand why they want to go, keep reminding them of that when they get stuck. You remind them of that and they're like, yes, I don't want to leave this to my kids. I don't want my kids to deal with this. You just have to keep reminding them, I'm going to be closer to my grandchildren. I've had clients send me pictures of them with their grandkids that they haven't lived by for 10 years, and they're making cookies. And it's really, really special. I mean, you really want to help these people get to that other side, but this is a really challenging time. And so really listening, having that never-ending empathy and patience is really going to get you there. And let's see. The psychology of letting go and why it's hard. We've talked on this a little bit, but again, it's not just the house, it's their story. Older sellers will see their home as part of their identity. It's not just real estate. To us, it's real estate. To them, it's their story, it's their identity. Every room holds memories, milestones, and life events. You spend hours listening to stories. Fear of losing control. Moving gives up independence. Even if they choose to move, they're still giving up a lot. They know they need to move. They are ready, but it's still a grieving process. And so we just need to allow them that space to do that. And they may feel pressured by family, friends, even best meaning family and friends, health issues or finances. The emotional weight of stuff. We all know the emotional weight of stuff. When we clear out a drawer or a closet, it just feels amazing. Like it's just freeing. We can breathe a little easier. Well, they've got an entire house of stuff to go through. So belonging, and it's all tied to memories. Our kitchen cabinets typically in our drawers are not tied to memories. That's an easy clean out, linen closet. But when you're cleaning out an entire house, that's a lifetime to be trying to let go. And then they worry about regret, getting rid of something they may want later. Again, they have that mentality of it's useful. I can use this. And this is a lot of and we're not talking hoarder stuff, but this is a lot of the hoarder issues is they know that this item is useful. Why would I ever get rid of it? And a lot of people find when there's loneliness with a lot of these, even men that have lost their spouses, I've seen this. When there's loneliness, that stuff around them, and I'm not talking hoarder, I'm just talking their collections, give them a sense of connection to their family, to their past. And so they have a hard time letting go of that. And there is a lot of loneliness in this age group that we're talking about. So we kind of become their lifeline to this and during this transition, and they're leaning on you to have those resources and get them to the other side. And then how you can help sellers move forward. Start small to avoid overwhelm. Don't think about the whole house. Think about, let's start in this drawer. Let's start in this linen closet. Give them that sense of progress, of success, and celebrate every single win. If they only cleaned out a cupboard, you just celebrate that with them, because when they see that, they're like, oh, I did do that. Okay, I can do this. So if they can have small successes, they can have larger successes. And so reframe letting go as a positive step. Think of it as preparing for your next future, your next chapter, not just getting rid of things. We've touched on that also about let's let this go and have somebody else enjoy it. You've loved it, you've enjoyed it. Now let's pass it on to someone else. And that we're not erasing the memories. The memories are not in the stuff. But I had someone tell me the other day, it's not in the stuff, but it still feels like it is. And so we're still working through that, but it's the memories are in here, and if we can get people to understand that it's not in the things, it's not in the stuff, then they can move forward. Yes.
I was holding on to my childhood furniture. It was a really cool mid-century modern from the 60s.
Yeah.
Really fancy. And it was just in storage.
Yeah.
And I couldn't let it go, couldn't let it go until someone said to me, somebody else could be enjoying this.
I love it.
Just think about the memories they're going to create.
Yes, yes. I love that. And that's something that too, even I love that. And I actually had my grandma's curio cabinet, which I never really loved, but I held on to it for years. It moved 8 times with me. And I'm like, and when I finally let it go, and I have this, it's just so much better. It is, it's funny, but when I'm a very sentimental person too. So when I'm talking about this, I'm talking to myself, because I love my family stuff. So I can relate to my clients very much so, but I'm learning, and I've but that memory was not in the curio cabinet. I still carry her with me. And so you still carry the memories, and now you've passed that on to another child, you know, that can love that and enjoy that, or even a younger adult that maybe loves to collect it, you know, you just never know. But one thing about the house is reminding these people that you've raised a family here, and now you want this home to, because a lot of these people have 3 or 4 bedroom homes. Now you're gonna pass this home on to a family, and they're gonna raise their children here. And that kind of changes that mindset again, like, oh, I love that idea. That's actually I love that feeling. Somebody else is gonna love this home like we did. And so, again, it's reframing mindset. And then offer choices to give back the control. Ask them, what's the most important thing for you to bring? What do you love? Do you have a favorite charity that means something to you? I've given you a list of some charities. I know there's more that I probably don't know of, but if you understand what that charity serves, a lot of them are drawn to that. A lot of people like a lot of my ladies like the cat store on River Road. We give a lot of stuff to the cat store. They adopt cats out and that sort of thing. And so there's a lot of things that different people are drawn to. And so the one thing that you can say to your sellers, I know this isn't about selling a house, it's about a chapter of your life. And we're gonna take this one step at a time. And when they know that you're not just pushing and you're not just all about the logistics, all it takes is, you know, a sentence here or there to just let them know that you're in this for them. So, all right, and then, so your role in supporting without overstepping. This touches a little bit on the last slide, but again, it's just a few more pointers. Be the guide and not the force. The seller needs to feel in control. You want to provide the reassurance. You want to provide the resources. You provide the roofer. You provide the landscaper, the inspector, the painter. You can provide someone to come in and help them downsize, pre-pack. They have movers. This could all be part of the package that you offer your sellers. And so helping them visualize the future instead of focusing on what they're leaving behind. I've heard it used as the perfect past or the fake future. So the perfect past is all this stuff is from this family that I loved and everything, and it was so perfect. And then the fake future is, well, someday I'm gonna work on this project, or I'm gonna take all these things with me because I'm gonna have time in my new house. Well, we don't live in the now, because now it's hard. Now we're grieving, now we're not happy now. But if we can bring everybody back to the now and remember, why are we doing this? What do we need to do today to get to that point tomorrow? Are you really gonna do that craft where you take 5 things with you? Or are you gonna do 2? And so, you know, it's just really thinking, will you really do that, or is that who you wanted to be? We talk a lot about identity. Is this the new you, or is this the old you? And so that really sets with people like, oh, okay, I keep telling myself, who do I wanna, well, I wanna be a watercolor artist, so, but I don't really like acrylics anymore. And so, you know, they make that decision on their own, like, okay, I can let all that stuff go. I don't use my sewing machine anymore. I can let that go. Even though it has memories of grandma sewed on it, I made kids' clothes on it, but as soon as we start saying, what's the reality of your future? Not the fake future, but what's the reality of your future? How much room do you have? Then they really start to think, oh, okay, that's not gonna fit in my new future. And then introduce outside help when needed. Some sellers need a neutral third party, an organizer, downsizing expert to help them make decisions. Keep the process moving without rushing. Be gentle perseverance is key. Check in often, offer support, provide solutions, and again, listen. Always be listening to what they're saying, because when you can understand what their purpose is, it'll help them move forward with least resistance. And use their words as motivation. Use their words back to them. You didn't want to leave this to your kids. When you and I met in the beginning, your fear was leaving this to your kids. Your challenge was that you couldn't get up to the 3rd floor. You can't walk your neighborhood. Let's get you to that next chapter. Especially if you know where they're going too. You can be like, when you get there, these are the things that you're going to be able to do. You know, and they might have a community where they're going, where right now they have no community. That's a big one. So, all right, and then suggestions to overcome roadblocks. Gently plant the seed of discussing long-term planning rather than the immediate action of selling the house. So ask open-ended questions. If you decide to move, what would be the best, well, they are moving, but when you move, what would be the most important to you? Again, talking about what are the things that are non-negotiable, you have to have, and then we'll start looking at other things. Then share success stories of others who have downsized successfully. You know, you've seen the success stories of the people that have done that in your sales processes. Offer practical solutions. You work with professionals who make this easier. You're not gonna send them out to mow the yard or repair the roof or fix the garage door. So don't expect them to be packing and downsizing and calling off donations either, if that's not a possibility. So, help them set the priorities. What's the biggest hurdle we can tackle first? Maybe it's a kitchen drawer. You know, they've all got 10 spatulas and 3 big fat spoons and, you know, and 5 big serving bowls that maybe aren't practical in the new place. And so what family or friends can they hand this down to? And then if not, you know, then it's time to donate. But again, bless and release and let somebody else, you know, create meals in these dishes. And then help them focus on the small wins. Start with one closet. You have to start with a drawer and really celebrate that with them. So that's fantastic. Okay, let's do another drawer this week, you know. And set firm but gentle timelines and just ask them, would it be helpful? Would it be possible? Give them that control that they feel like they can say, yes, I can do it. And if they don't do it, then you say, okay, let's try again next week. And then offer a downsizing checklist or step-by-step guide to reduce overwhelm. When you meet with them, write it down. A lot of them have memory issues and cognitive disabilities, can't remember things, and sometimes I don't learn that till I'm farther in the process, and I'm like, I think we've had this conversation 3 times now, and I'm realizing they're not remembering what we're talking about, but I don't know going in always that that's an issue. And so the checklist is a really big thing. All right, so one other thing that you'll do once they've got downsized and pre-packed, and then we talk about staging the house, getting it ready for marketing photos. Since 86% of them are going to be living in the home, we call that occupied staging. How many of you ever heard occupied staging? Is anybody familiar with that? Okay, just a couple? Okay. So we're working with what they have. We're not bringing anything in unless they decide they want to, but our goal is we want to work with what they have. And so we're going to rearrange the flow of the room. In this case, what this was on the far left was this tree on the wall. This house had been on the market twice, and it had been on the market I went back and looked at my notes, it had been on the market for 6 months at this point. This is an older couple, but with a family home, a big home, large home. But I think the tree and the green wall was probably an issue. But I knew going in that the realtor didn't want to, she's like, they're not going to paint it. And I'm like, okay. So we did a consultation, and I asked her at the very end, tell me about that tree. That is an amazing tree. What is the story behind that? She told me that her neighbor had planted or painted it. And so at the end I said, well, how would it feel to live without that just for a few months? You know, she's like, well, what do you mean? And I suggested that we paint it, and we paint the green walls, because a family walking in is going to see that, and they're going to see dollar signs, right? Buyers overestimate what repairs and updates take. They overestimate. They don't know really what it costs. But they painted it, and then a buyer came back that had seen it green, and then they put an offer on it within a week after they had painted it. So, you know, it's knowing that if something is a sensitive subject, not touching on it right away, and just approaching it in a completely different way. If I walked in and said, okay, those green walls definitely are going to have to go, and the tree, I would definitely paint the tree, but I didn't. I asked, what's the story? How do you feel about? I gave her the control. I'm not going to make her do it, but I'm going to educate her on why I feel like it's an important decision. And so here we just had to swap out the red. We all know red is not appealing on MLS. Red for the white shears, and it just changed the view. Of course, it's a different season, obviously, but it just softened that window. And so here, this is the same house. We just reduced, pre-packed, and we just brought that plant in, and it just opened up that space. And so that's occupied staging, is just taking what they already own. And this picture at the bottom, that's really tiny, they had the clock in the 2 pictures, which that's really, so in occupied staging, we work a lot with neuromarketing, where the eye is drawn to color, and then it goes to detail. So, and another thing is, the more times the eye stops in a So we're trying to eliminate how many times that eye stops in that space. Again, those red curtains is all you notice, but as soon as you put the shears up, your eye goes straight out through the window, right? I mean, it's a thing. So right here, what we did is we took those down and we just put up that simple, non-intrusive piece of art, and now you have a fireplace. I mean, it's just simple buyer psychology of what their eyes are gonna be looking at when they come in. And then, here's just some downsizing and decluttering. Again, if you don't do this, this is what you get. Laundry room, bathroom, and what we did here is took an office that was in the primary here, and we cleared out that room and put the desk in this room and made an office, but we used what she already had. We're not looking for HGTV or Instagram-worthy photos, we're looking for real life. We're using what they already own, and we're reworking it, and we're being creative with the solution. And these are MLS photos down at the bottom, and they look fabulous compared to what it would have been. So, and this is, she was a client with RA with a 2-story house, rheumatoid arthritis with a 2-story house. There was no way this was gonna get done. So, very important. Okay, so the key takeaways are older sellers need more than just a real estate transaction. They need guidance and reassurance. And asking thoughtful questions, using empathy, and giving them the control back will make the process smoother. And when agents communicate effectively, they gain trust, close deals faster, and again, with these respectful and loyal clientele, you're gonna create lifelong referral sources. One thing that I just thought of something else I was gonna add. Anyway, just really about giving them the control back. And I heard something last night that I just thought of and I've forgotten it, but if I think of it, I'll share it. Again, just listening and letting them gain that trust. And okay, and so again, I'm with Willow Design and Staging. Love working with seniors. I'm so glad that you guys all came today. I think this is a really amazing demographic that if you're fortunate enough to work with them, it's a really, how many of you are SRES here? Okay, just a couple. I really encourage you to pursue the SRES if you want to work with seniors. It's, mine is the NASM, the certification. It's just, it gives you more in detail what you can do to assist these buyers and get them on the other side, because it's a challenge. It's a lot of work. It's hard work. Sometimes it's dirty work. You know, you got to get in there and get dirty and clean things out, and things have been in carports and attics and basements for a very long time. And but all of that stuff deserves to find a home. They deserve to feel good about the decisions that were made. The worst thing I've seen is somebody coming in and clearing out somebody's home and moving them into an assisted living with all new furniture. That is the worst thing that can happen for these people. They need to have a part of their past move with them, no matter how big or small it is. But again, at the end of the day, it's their decision. If they move and have 50 boxes in the living room, it's their decision at the end of the day. We don't force it on them, but we give them the best possible possibility of a good outcome on the other side. So, yes.
On average, and I don't know if you can answer this, but on
Okay.
average, with people that you work with, what would you say is like a good price point? Like, and we're talking, I mean, I know you could do, 3,000 square feet, or you could do a little apartment, but on average, because if money is super tight, but we're
Right.
like, we need you as a resource to be that
Okay.
third party.
Yeah, I would say the moves that I've worked on have ranged anywhere from 3,000 or 4,000, depending on ability, all the way up to about, I think my highest one was 12, because it incorporated a lot of clean outs. But that wasn't all me, that was just, incorporated the junk haulers, the packers, but yeah, it could, not the movers and that kind of thing, but it can be as small as, what will come in for a couple days, and that could be 500 or 600 to, we're in this for the long haul. But yeah, but even what I hope to bring you today is that with these handouts, for those people that don't need that heavy duty, even there are still some challenges that you'll find with those sellers in their 60s and 70s that may be very capable but resistant to the need to change and to get rid of stuff. And Even if they don't wanna get rid of it, pre-packing and get it out of the house, thank you, will, be better for marketing photos. That is the end goal. The marketing photos is what's gonna sell the house for more money and quicker. So we all wanna flip that house, get them that income, and so, but yes, thank you for asking that. Yeah, it is a wide range, but I would say that's a pretty good average, depending on what we do.
And then do you take payment out of escrow by chance?
Oh, I was gonna mention that. Depending on the agent and the situation, I have, yes. The risk in that is that if the family decides to pass it on to a child at the end, or maybe they decide not to, all the variables, but they would just be something fine that we would make it good on the back end. But yes, I have considered that lately, and I've done that a couple times, because I know money is an issue, and they need to get moved, right? So sometimes it's a half and half. I collect half, and then we can do half at close of escrow. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, ma'am?
What's been your experience using garage sales? or estate
Not
sales?
great. Oh, estate sales, great, and that's something that we also, and I meant to touch on that. Now, if you go in, if you're giving client advice, and they're gonna have an estate sale, which I recommend, we don't donate anything, even something they think is garbage. Don't donate anything, because that garbage is what everybody wants to buy. It's it's the little smalls that make all the money. So, I don't recommend garage sales at all, because you don't make any money on them at all, and it's a lot of work. But when you have a large home, an estate sale, there's great estate sale companies that I can refer to, and I recommend that highly, yeah. When there's a lot of, and they'll come in and they'll look at what the seller has, and they can come in even before the seller pre-packs their stuff. So, yeah, and we always recommend kids come in, have your kids come in, have your friends come in, whatever you wanna do with all this. So, yes.
Where did you put your handouts?
Oh, on the table out in the hall.
Oh,
Yeah, you came in that way. Yeah, there's some, yeah, you're welcome. So.
I know people are starting to leave. Did anybody not sign in and need to see?
I set up online.
I didn't sign up for
From a builder's perspective,
Yeah.
my goal as a builder is to try to hit what I consider the missing middle housing market,
Yes.
right? 300 to 350 range, there's not much out there, smaller footprint, lower maintenance.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, yes.
This seems to kind of hit that, if they want to downsize to a single family dwelling.
Yes.
From that,
Yeah.
is there, this is my goal, right? So, is there a preference, or do you find there's a percentage of downsizers that would rather go to a retirement community, which I hear is on the short
Yes.
side also,
There's-
right?
Right.
Or would they rather go to 900, 1,000 square foot, single level, ADA compliant, 2-3 bedrooms, so on, very basic layout.
Yeah.
And purchase that instead and leave that.
Yes, that is actually a very good niche, because Hayden Homes is doing that, there's another builder here doing that. That is an absolutely perfect solution, because not all of them can afford to go into these retirement communities. They want their money to go into another investment for their kids, and so that, absolutely, I've seen that. They've gone into smaller homes, they've gone into 55+ trailers, and what the couple that has a big, workshop did not like the trailer park. That was not a thing for them. That was a huge loss, from a huge property. So having a home that they feel is more of a home, I think absolutely. And that there's a lot of research when you do the study on this that show that these people want that smaller footprint. And it's a home with no step entries, wider hallways. Yeah, and if that's what you're doing, that's a fantastic.
Now, are you finding that some of their existing homes are adaptable to creating
Yes.
an ADU on the backside, shrinking the main footprint to something they would want, maybe a ADU or something like that?
Yeah.
You could do something like that.
Yeah, I haven't found that so much as a possibility, but I do think that
Small home, small footprint, less maintenance.
exactly.
small
Some of them are
yard.
doing that in their kids' backyards, like when they have property, they're taking those ADUs and putting them in their kids' backyards, yeah.
Well, what I'm reading, what I'm seeing was that they actually would, even though they're smaller homes, they're appreciating more of an outdoor living space to go outside that home.
Exactly,
Or
that's
maybe
what,
it's a 100 or 200 square foot deck, with a 900 square foot home.
Yeah, see, that's what they want, and when they go into these other livings, they don't have a patio, they don't have a deck.
Yeah.
They lose that, and that's what they've had, and so,
Because the
yeah.
yard's not so important, but it's still one of our cut.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. I think it's very important. Yeah, I see it as a perfect progression from that to that. Yeah, absolutely, you bet.
Thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Wonderful.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Like I mentioned, I'll be sending out the PowerPoint. I've already got most of you guys all marked in, so you'll be seeing your CEs shortly. Look, you should have received an email this week, maybe 2 emails. We are having a 1031 Exchange Basic class, in Cottage Grove, actually at 10 a.m. I think it's Wednesday, I think, March 4th or 5th. I did write the date down here when I wrote it down to make sure to announce it. And then, following that, at 2 o'clock here, we are going to do a 1031 exchange common mistakes. So it's a little more advanced because Melissa did do one in the fall for us here in Eugene that was 1031 exchange basics. So, just so you know, if you're needing CEs or have some 1031 exchange questions,
March
Melissa or
5th.